But we do want to be ready for questions if anybody is wondering anything. But we do have some information to give, and then at the end of that, we'll be taking any questions or any concerns that anybody has. I'm glad to say that we got a couple of water board members here, and I'm sure that they'd be willing, to talk to you about if you got some problems too. But we're all in this together, and so we're really just trying to all come together and see what we can come up with as far as what needs to be done at this point. So I'm going to hand it over to Mary, and she's going to talk to you about some of the things that are going on right now.
Hi, everybody. So I've got a little bit of a sore throat issue, so bear with me. I sent out an agenda, or we sent out an agenda on Facebook, and it sort of had question marks at the end, so we really are welcoming, discussion at the end of this. I just wanted to update you on some things that are going on that, I think it's important that we all sort of stay on the same page with things that are being planned and the things that are happening with the PSC. One of the first things I wanted to talk about is, Bob Bocock came in probably back in January, wasn't it? And he talked about a number of things that he wanted to do, working directly with the water district, with the water board, with Kentucky Rural Water, and with Greg Heitzman to sort of, and most importantly, from our point of view, definitely with this citizens group, to assess what's going on with the system and to look at what solutions we can come to together, with the idea that, if we come together to try to come up with solutions to the problems that are facing the system, that's going to be a lot more effective than if the state comes in and says, boom, here's what this fix is. In that regard, we are talking about having a water fair with Bob Bocock here on site on June 9th. And that's going to be on a Saturday. We've got it tentatively June 9th and June 10th. I don't know if it's going to be 1 day or 2 days. But so Bob is talking about having what he calls a day of learning. And where the water professionals and people from the district and people from the water board and people from Kentucky Rural Water and the citizens will all come together to sort of discuss the system and learn about, look at a map of the system, learn about where the tanks are, where the zones are, where different people fit within the system, how the system works, so that we can all have a better understanding when things go wrong about what exactly is going wrong and how we may be able to work together to troubleshoot and problem solve and work together toward solutions to the problems that are happening. He also wants to bring in, and I guess he's gotten some offers from the Plumbers Union, which is called the International Plumbers Union. They have offered to come in and help residents come into the county and go into people's houses and help residents with flushing their individual house water systems and their water heaters to make sure that the systems in the house are running as cleanly as possible. And probably, we haven't talked about this, but I would assume that part of that would be detecting leaks. I think anecdotally we've heard a lot of talk about people having really high water bills, and it sounds like people may have leaks in their system that need to be that we need to find out about, and I think that can be part of that weekend.
Can I add something to what you're saying? Part of what we are working on to go along with what Mary's talking about is Bob sent us these recommendations, and we are taking those recommendations along with our consultant Greg Heitzman and basically overlaid those two to see what they basically have the same things. Bob's recommended this, Heitzman's recommended this, and we're going to put those in order. Part of that is we're in the process right now of redoing our billing to where everybody has zones, so you know what tank you're on. That's what you were talking about. So we're in the process of doing that, so it will in the future be on your bill exactly what zone you're in, and so you'll know what tank you're on. You'll know exactly, so you can kind of help troubleshoot leaks and things like that if that ever comes up. I have been working with Kentucky Housing. I do a lot of work with them in the mortgage business, and I've been working with Kentucky Housing. They have some programs where they can come in with low and middle income housing and can come in and there's some grants that we can get maybe for and it's really for the individuals of the county to where they can come in and help redo your plumbing.
Oh,
If you
great.
have like galvanized pipe, the old pipe, that kind of thing. And there's nothing definite on that yet. I've just kind of started working with them. I do a lot of work with them, and that's something that we're going to maybe try to hopefully we'll get them in here and can meet with our citizens, and maybe we can start working on some grants through them directly to help with plumbing issues for people at their homes.
That would be wonderful.
So I think that would be good too.
Yeah, because we may have some folks with older homes who have.
Absolutely. Because a lot of these, what the coal camp houses, I mean, you got a lot of these old houses with piping in it, you've got those things. So that's something that I've been working on personally because I have that relationship already.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going down there, I'm on a committee down there now with KHC for the water chemistry. I'm going to meet with some people on there. And I'll report back to you guys on that so that you can kind of spread the word as far as that goes. On maybe when we can get them in town, you know, we can set something up for the citizens to work. And that, like I said, get in there and kind of work on that piping.
Great.
Hopefully it'll work out, but that's something we're definitely working on too. I
Yeah.
just thought that went along with what you were saying. So.
Well, and it's important too to make sure that everybody's personal health system is working as efficiently as possible, because that's a waste of water. If it's leaking out, that's more water that has to be processed.
I think maybe
in.
some of the odor issues, some of the things that people experience, some of that probably has to do with that old pipe.
Yeah.
And so I think if we can help folks there.
Yeah, and old
that'll
piping,
go a long
you know, is
way.
really dangerous for lead.
Yeah.
The galvanized piping, I have a couple of samples of it that came on my house this winter. And it's relatively, some of it's relatively new pipe that I have put in. But as chlorine water goes through galvanized, it doesn't take any time at all for it to stop off. You can take a 3/4 pipe and it's down to a pencil in no time. And I've got those out in the truck, but I didn't remember to bring them in. I'll show you one.
I've got a piece out of an old house, we just have to extrude it.
If anyone.
Yeah, so hopefully that's something that we can work with the housing, and that will be just specifically for the citizens to maybe be able to go and apply for those grants and maybe get that in the future, we can do that. So I'm working on it. Like I said, I'll update you guys maybe the next water board meeting, or just I'll get over this before we kind of let you know where I'm at. But I'm going down there, going to Frankfurt next month sometime for a committee meeting, and then I've got something set up to kind of meet with those folks when I'm there.
Great, great. So hopefully we'll have more information.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
By June 9th, we'll definitely.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
kind of my idea is, so when that, because I'm hoping maybe it'll get them to come to that.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
That's what I'm hoping, so.
So we hope, you know, spread the word in the community, everybody, June 9th. That's going to be on a Saturday. We don't have a location yet. We're trying to figure out exactly.
I think that
Where the best
Bob
location.
mentioned that he thought we could actually have it at the plant in the parking lot
Sure.
Might be a,
and let
yeah.
people.
And definitely, that would be educational for folks. And we want to make it fun too, so we're going to try to figure out how to have some bands and some face painting and stuff for kids to do, so it's not all just, you know, talking about water, but that will be the focus of the weekend. And then sort of in the same note, I wanted to mention that we have gotten an offer from a nonprofit organization called Pure Foundation. They have heard about our water problems through CNN. They're a national nonprofit. And they are offering to bring in folks to provide in-house point-of-use filtration systems. This is on the sink faucet, basically. And then also provide free water filters, the filters that would need to be changed, and to have a training. And we're working with Bob Bocock on this because we feel like he has expressed concerns, and he did when he was here, about people relying too much on water filters because you don't know that they're filtering the right contaminants, and B, if you don't just religiously abide by the guidelines on how to change the filters and how to maintain them, they're pretty much worthless. So they can give you some false sense of security. We've put Bob Bocock in touch with the foundation officers of the Pure Foundation so that they can work together on how to best provide this service for the community. And so we're hoping that by June 9th that there will be people from the Pure Foundation here who will be talking about and possibly willing and able to install filters in people's houses. And Bob Bocock's folks can talk about, what is being filtered and how you have to maintain them. That's kind of a developing situation. So we're hopeful that that is something that would be useful. One thing we do know is that the filters that they are offering to provide will filter out the disinfection byproducts.
They will?
They will. So
Yeah,
they
because
are capable of that level of filtration.
I was told some time ago when they got these in the school.
Well, some can and some can't. I mean, and that's one of the things that's really important is we've talked to, Bob has sort of been stressing it's very important to know what kind of filter you're getting, what it's good for, what it's not good for, and how it must be maintained. Otherwise, it's completely useless and it may actually be bad because it gives you that false sense of security. So these, Bob has been talking to the people in the Pure Foundation, and these would be able to filter out disinfection byproducts if used properly. So we're working on that, and hopefully June 9th we'll be able to.
I was told by people at LK, the people that the school system got, they have it here, and you could not get a filter there.
That it was impossible to get one.
Huh?
That you were told that it was impossible
Yeah, I
to
was
filter
told
out.
that. Yeah, I was told they don't make a difference. Look, you can't, this will catch, like charcoal, like take the smell out, just take the odor, it'll take things. The disinfectant byproducts, it will not.
Well, and that, I don't know, and that's the kind of concern, that's the reason when we were contacted, I was the one who was contacted by this foundation, I sent them directly to Bob, because I trust his professional judgment on this kind of thing, and so he's working directly with them to make sure that this is kind of that this will be a good offer and not something that might not be such a good thing.
We were talking this morning too, while we read our training the last couple of days, and I'm saying this because I want to know if you all know anything about it. So, a gentleman from Rural Water was there and approached us about a filtration system that we can put into our plant that's being used in Cincinnati, and Ashland just started using it, and it's free for us. They'll come in. We asked how much it's costing, and they said, well, nothing. We'll try it out. Have anybody heard of that? Heard of that being done in Ashland or anything?
And is it being offered free because it's like a trial?
I believe that may be part of it, and maybe just because we're so broke, they don't think we don't have any money.
Are they charging Cincinnati?
I don't know. I don't know. I know very little about it. I was just wondering if you all heard anything about that.
Would it,
It may just be a trial, maybe something on that line.
Bob mentioned something at that meeting. I don't know, I think maybe you were there, but
I was.
he mentioned something about some kind of filtration system that would use the existing 3 tanks as an equalizer to kind of settle things out, and then there would be a separate filtration in the parking lot. It was like a small system that
I don't
would.
know.
The way he was talking was that it would be using the 3 tanks that we had, that they just use 2 of them and change, because let's say this first one's filter, it would filter most of it out, and then the second one would pick up what was left. And then once this first filter got so full, then you could switch it off and turn on the third one. and-
Right.
So that
and
you
then
could
do it
switch
that-
out
and
the
then
other
take- and clean this one out, and then start the whole process.
Okay, I thought there was something in the parking lot, some kind of
Yeah, I think there
small
was
system in the parking
that
lot.
had to be there for that.
I'll find out a little more, because
So, yeah.
Scott mentioned it to me this morning. I was more asking to see if you guys knew anything about it. But apparently it's being used in Cincinnati. Ashland just has their system, and it's supposed to help filter out, a lot of the byproducts in the water at the plant too. So I'll find out. I'll let you know. But like I said, I was just wondering if you know.
Yeah, and I guess while we're on this subject, are you all in pretty good communication with Bob? I feel like we're kind of relying on Bob for a lot of stuff right now.
Right now, Bob gave us those recommendations. Our job right now is to try to put those together and try to do what he told us we needed to do. I mean, I have talked to him just for counsel more than anything, if something comes up, and kind of probably what what you all are doing too, like, what do you think about this, you know?
Right.
Because he's obviously the expert, and he's incredibly good, you know, hold up, you know, catching, you know, kind of like planes and different things, but, I talked to him, messaging back and forth, and just more for counsel than anything. You know, hey, we got this crazy idea, you know, that kind of thing. I'm gonna call him about this filtration system, and they, talk about this, and just kind of give us the feedback. So, yeah, I mean, and two, as we get closer to June, because we want to be a big part of that, we want us to be a big part of that too. Because I think there's a lot we want as well, and especially having the community there, you know, to kind of just talk.
Yeah.
The ideas, because we don't have, we don't have a lot of answers, so we be good, so, yeah. But, yeah, no, I have, just more for council though, for some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah. Well, so the second thing that's going on is the University of Kentucky is still conducting its study. I just want everyone to know that it's an ongoing process. They were here in, I think it was December, when they did interviews, and there were several folks in the community who gave in-depth interviews about water and health, basically, sort of, that's the long and short of it. And they have used those interviews to develop a long-form questionnaire that they will be then giving to us. I think people in the community are going to be the ones who are giving it, to go out and administer these questions. And so they're using this to develop as big a data set as they can about what's going on health-wise in the community and what people's concerns are, specifically related to health and water. They are also, as part of that, they're going to be doing a limited amount of tap water testing, and that's going to be randomized throughout the county. They're not, so that will be scientifically valid. So they will be essentially knocking on doors. They're going to be, you know, figuring out as a random matter what houses to test, and then they'll be knocking on doors. So if folks can start, you know, telling people in the community that this is going to be happening in the summer, that people will be coming in coming to your house to ask to do health questionnaires and maybe wanting to do tap samples. We really need folks to be as receptive to that as possible to make it a valid study.
We'll put something on the water district's page on
Okay.
Facebook and get that out too.
Wonderful.
Show everybody that.
Wonderful.
And also, we might want some people to go with them to their different places that they go, like Barbian in your area, you'd know the people that they're, you know, how to find their houses or whatever. Now, it's very randomized, so they can't just, you know, they're not gonna go see who wants to talk to them. But at the same time, I think we need local people to be with the students that are working with the professors, so that people feel more comfortable when they have somebody come in their house, turning on their tap and taking all their,
I
you
do
know.
that in the work development, I don't care what.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what we need, is people that know people in different areas.
So I thought I reminded you as well.
Yeah, I know, you mind if I did that? You can work
So
on it.
as we get closer to time, we'll be putting it on Facebook and,
Yeah.
and asking for volunteers for folks to help out on that. I think it would be great as we could get as many people in the community as possible to take part in even the question, help, you know, administering it. That would be
Really and
important.
truly, I believe this board is interested, we're all on the water system ourselves,
Yeah.
we all use this water. And we want not just to build the community's trust up, but we want to be able to have a safe water system for the county. We're all connected, this county is connected, I mean, it's just so many little ties that we couldn't believe. How we're all tied together, families and stuff.
Yeah, no, anything that we
huge.
can
Thank
do,
you.
anything that we can do to help that, you let us know, and we'll put it out on the water district's page, or, you know, whatever you need, just let us know, we support that 100%.
Right. Right.
Judy, Dawn, I need you or John to get with Crum and get me approval for my idea that we talked about at the last water board meeting. Because I leave, the 30th of May to go to that water conference. I would really like to have it done before then.
Are you talking about?
The cleanup?
No,
We got, yeah, we got one of those releases.
the legal, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I thought that was.
Get on that as soon as you can and let me know.
Yeah, Yeah, we're working on it, so it's all.
Yeah, I need the legal releases so I can get that done. I'd like to get it done in May.
That's fine.
I can't see any problem
But it'd
with
be
that.
better before the snakes are out too.
Absolutely.
Well, no, the snakes are out, just as quick as the sun starts shining.
I saw one yesterday on the trail.
Yeah, because Rex is gonna have the.
So
rest department
don't never
come
think
in
that
for
the
boats
snakes
and
are not out.
the reservoir
They
for
are.
safety.
But the weeds won't be as high.
We just need
I've gotten a lot of great
all
support for that
kinds of
idea,
Frank-
and I really appreciate you all.
And if folks don't know, the idea is Barbie Ann, I said it right. Barbie Ann proposed at the water board meeting that she would be willing to sort of spearhead this effort to clean up the reservoir. I think that's an
No,
important-
is it the reservoir or? okay.
Reservoir.
Yeah, it was the reservoir.
Yeah, because that is where all the water's coming from. Well, it goes through the reservoir. Yeah.
But she was going to pick up the trash that's on there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all those, there's rubber gloves, there's batteries, there's propane tanks, there's lighters,
That
there's
would be great.
I don't know how many packs of meat.
There'll be needles.
packs of meat floating in the water.
They fish up there. and-
Yeah, they fish up there and they leave the packs in the foam. And you know that little piece that goes in there that absorbs the blood? Yeah, it's floating in our water. And I would like to get that out of there.
Why don't they shut the reservoir? And that would make,
Huh?
shut the reservoir down for public use. I mean, it should be used, if that's your drinking water system, you don't want people up there with canoes or boats with gasoline.
I think
There's
our
not
first
supposed to be
water,
any
our
gas.
first cleanup
There's not supposed
in
to
the
be
1980s
gasoline
was
motors
that
on that.
reservoir.
I know there's not supposed to be traffic, or there shouldn't be people up there.
Well, I agree with that, but gasoline
They
motors.
can't have gasoline motors, that's good.
If they catch you up there with a gasoline motor,
Because that's what we need.
they will
Because all that stuff will
write you up
yeah.
for that.
If you get down, you know,
That's just, that's been that way ever since it's been out there.
a lot.
Well, so the next thing is what's going on at the PSC, and I'm happy to answer questions from our point of view on what's going on with PSC. The rate case is, I guess I want to stress to everyone that the rate increase that was granted back in March is temporary. That doesn't mean, we're not, it's basically, they have applied for a 49.6 rate increase, 6% rate increase. The PSC granted them on an emergency basis a temporary rate increase of 17.5% plus a $4.91 surcharge on each bill. That's temporary. The longer term, the permanent or sort of permanent issue will come up later. So the next thing that's happening at the PSC on the rate increase is May 1st, the PSC staff has to their deadline for a report is due. So the process is the PSC it's kind of an unusual agency. They have a lot of staff who are experts in things like how to set rates. So the staff has taken all of the information that the water district has provided. They came out and they did a field inspection of the water district, and they got more information. And they're taking all of that, and on that basis, they're determining what the rate needs to be for the water district to be able to pay its operation and maintenance expenses. It's needed revenue. So that report is due on May 1st. After that report comes in, we will have 14 days to review it, and by we, I mean Martin County Concerned Citizens. We are parties in that case. We have intervened. We will have 14 days to review that and file any objections. We can also ask for a hearing. So I would speculate that there will likely be a hearing, and that would probably happen in late May or early June. That's kind of a guess. I think the PSC wants to see this finalized pretty quickly, so I think it'll be a pretty short time frame. And then after that, there will be a determination of what the final rate is. So this 17.5% plus the surcharge may or may not be the final rate. It could be higher, it could be lower, we don't know. There was a report, or the one thing in the PSC order that was unusual, I think, for the PSC, I don't know that they've ever done this, is they required that the water district report on its expenditures. That report was due on April 15th. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know.
Report on its what?
Expenditures. I think there was a quote in the order about every penny spent.
Yeah, we have to we literally have to send it every time we spend, I don't care what it is. but it's-
Yeah, Greg has been very diligent about keeping up with things to this nature, but I haven't asked him if,
Yeah.
I haven't
Well,
either.
I mean, it's been 4 days. I think it was probably, it had to be mailed to the PSC by the 15th, so I'm not saying it's late, I'm just saying.
yeah, I don't know.
We should be seeing that any day now.
I think as you guys see, I think we're gonna go back, and I think you're gonna be very pleased.
But also,
And all that is made public after.
Yeah, so that you guys.
It will
can
be
all see.
available on the PSC's website, as soon as it's filed, as soon as the PSC gets it and files it, as soon as the loggers get a copy of it, it will be made public. And we'll put that on Facebook, we'll put a link so everyone can look at that.
one of the things that I like the best about the rate increase was like the surcharge. When you, with that was added onto it, it made it probably a 27% increase. But if that amount stays the same, once, that surcharge is, we have to put it into a special account. And it can only be used on the paid, on the bills that we have. Cannot use it for anything else, no other expenses or anything, it must come off those.
And the PSC has to approve.
And it must be
everything
approved
we
by
do.
the public service. And then once this is over, then that surcharge comes off.
Right. So once you all get that accounts payable paid down, that
Yes,
surcharge will
then
go
the
away.
surcharge goes away.
Um,
So as a consumer, I like that, but
Not only that, but the more you actually have to pay for a bill, then the less that $4 and some means to you. If they actually made it 22%, then the higher your bill, the higher it is to be. So I think it's fair.
I mean, that's just what I thought. I thought it was consumer. I am a consumer also.
Well, that's what we originally pushed for, and then we're told the PSC had never approved that.
But they had approved, we found out
Yeah, that was after.
yesterday that they had approved it for one other place.
And so that's
And
all.
we had met with them yesterday, or
okay.
the last few days.
Well, it's interesting, I have been digging around on past PSC cases, and it looks like that was actually recommended back in 2010, but it wasn't ever made part of the PSC order, that they talked about doing a surcharge, there was
Because when we
some,
first started talking
Here
about it,
for
that's what
us.
we actually wanted to do. And then
They're very
well,
resistant to
we're doing
change.
something that way, yeah. So, but ultimately, that's what we ended up with, which we might. That's what we wanted, so that we can get this debt retired and get out of the way. That's what we had the meeting about yesterday, the special meeting, was we applied for financing. We need, that our GM has to be able to sign those things, and the previous minutes had to be approved before to be able to, that's what the bank required. So we were all in Prestonsburg at the
so
PSC
that's why you
training.
have the meeting.
And that's why we had the meeting there, because we originally, was telling Gary, we originally had it, we said 1, and then we realized, because that's when lunch was
Yeah, I
at 1.
told them they had met for 24 hours.
Yeah, so we changed the time before, so after it was over, so that we could do it. I think it took us about 30
You know,
seconds.
it's not being mean, that's what the law
Well, that's okay, no,
requires.
you're right, I mean, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
and I didn't know what it was for, I just thought,
Well, this is just showing too that this new board is we're trying to do things
yeah.
above board because I think maybe before people would just go ahead and sign the minutes, and unless the minutes are approved in the meeting, then they're not valid. So,
But that's what we have applied for financing.
That's what we're trying to do.
Try to retire as much of those accounts payable debt as we possibly can at one time. And then the idea is for that account, the bank or whomever the financing goes through, because I'm trying like 5 different places, so whoever the financing goes through, they'll sweep their interest each month when the payment comes due, and then we'll have a specific time of the month that they will sweep principal, to pay it down. So, and it'll look, I don't know, there's 10 different ways that will look, but we'll get there. And then, like I said, we'll retire that debt with that surcharge account, and as soon as we retire all that debt, then that goes away, which is good. So,
So you're trying to get a loan? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
That's what the PSC actually wants us to do. They want us to do a loan. It's about $900,000 roughly
And how do you pay that?
with the surcharge. The surcharge that's actually on the bill now, what did we say, $491? Yeah, that particular amount of that money, of the bill goes to one account that we vote. And then, so every month when everybody's paying the water bill, that portion will go into that particular account. And that's the only thing that it can be used for is to retire that debt. PSC wants us
To
to
pay your debt, the outstanding.
the outstanding debt, everything going forward. Because kind of the idea of it, when you sit down from a business standpoint, is if we can set this all to the side and we've got this one account that takes care of that, we can make a true budget, like a real budget. And for repairs, for the things that need to actually be done, as long as
On
it's.
an ongoing basis.
Yes, we can do a real budget. I don't know the last time to make a real budget is even done. So.
Looks like it's been a while.
It's been a while, based on what I can find. So we're gonna do a real budget,
That's a great idea.
a real deal. So, and it'll be, and we hope to retire that debt even faster without, not just with the surcharge money. If we've got extra money, we're trying to use it too to retire that debt so that we can get it off
Selling
the bill.
vehicles and things like that.
Whatever we can do, so we can, we're gonna Dave Ramsey, everybody knows Dave Ramsey is, that's what we're gonna do with the debt. We're gonna try to take it out as fast as we possibly can. Not just with the surcharge money, but other money that we bring in as well. Try to get rid of it and get that off the people as fast as we possibly can. It's not their fault, it's not ours either.
Right.
But we gotta fix it, so that's what we're doing, and we're trying to get out of it as quickly as we can, to make sure our guys have the material that they need to actually work and fix things the right way, which we have been able to do. We've been stocking things up, we actually have inventory now, things that we've been able to actually buy. The things that they have to do on a daily basis. I meet with the accountants now every Thursday morning to go over things with the GM, because eventually I'm a new water board member who will wear off on the PSC, so I better know what I'm talking about. So we meet every Thursday, and John's even come up there once and sat with me and kind of gone through it. But we meet every Thursday morning, so that I know how much money we got, I know what we're doing. So we've actually started in, the guys have material that's actually being put in. I mean, actually fixed, they're not having to MacGyver everything. I mean, those boys are geniuses. If you ever see them out, thank them, because they work really, really hard. And they have, it's that good old Eastern Kentucky ingenuity. They figure out ways to fix things with nothing. It's amazing what they can do. It really is. I mean, I've just been so impressed with all of them, because I know nothing about any of that, okay? I couldn't fix anything. So, but we're able to get material. Every leak that we've had, we've actually fixed, legitimately fixed. We didn't Band-Aid it, we fixed it. We've been up somewhere over, we replaced some service lines in an area. We have, it's just headed, as I said at the board meeting, it's slow, but it's in a different direction than it has been.
That's good news.
And
That's all good news.
it's going forward. And we're working our tails off. I mean, we are working hard. And I know more about water than I ever dreamed I would. I also know more about dance moms than I ever thought I would. Just throw that out there.
What now?
Dance moms. I'm a dance dad.
Oh, okay.
So I know about dance
Taking
moms.
his girl.
Yeah, I know about dance moms too, but that's, and Monster High Dogs. I know a lot of stuff I never dreamed I would ever know about.
I'm just
Yeah.
glad he has opposed to him doing the move.
Yeah.
Well,
Look, where do you think they got those skills?
And
I know where.
I just want to say, all this is really, one of the things that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes with Elizabeth that is a concern and that we've talked about all along is the affordability of the water in the county. And, it's not a secret, we've got a lot of folks in this county who are on fixed income for whom this small, what was compared to what they were asking for was a small increase is going to be a hit. So we are still concerned about that, and one of the things, a couple of things that are working against water affordability here, I think, are the problems that we essentially have inherited, that you have inherited. The fact that the water loss has been over 60% for a long time, that means that you're paying for water that's just going into the
Let's talk
ground.
about that real quick too. We think the meters broke at the plant. We think that's why our water loss is so high. We think that
I think it's showing that.
we are literally shutting the plant down right now. 5 hours a day. 5 hours a day, we are shutting that plant down. That means there's so much water in the tanks, and if we keep pushing water, then we're going to overflow.
Well, I definitely agree, there's probably something wrong,
No.
because starting in December, you were showing
You're not
100%
wrong.
water loss.
No, and you're not wrong. What you're saying is not wrong. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just telling you, this is some new stuff that has come up here recently.
Yeah.
We're buying a new meter
Okay.
because the meter that is up there right now that measures the water that comes out of the tank that we put into the distribution system lays at a slant. Well, it's also so old that you can't even buy parts for it. But it lays at a slant, and we just recently found out that particular meter will not read correctly if laid on a slant. So we are buying a new meter for that. We've also dug some pits so they can use those machines or some kind of flow meter, thank you, so that we can better track our water. Now, we just fixed a leak up Sawmill Hollow up Devella last week, and I got a text this morning. What I'm getting at is our system's pretty tight right now. We produce normally about $2 billion to $2.1 billion or gallons of water a day. Right now, we're doing about 1.6 is what we're planning. So I'm just saying that for the improvement, because I agree. It's getting better, and what I'm saying is your concern is valid. We all have it.
Well, something happened, I will say, something happened December, January, February, your reports are just wrong.
They're not right.
They're
They're impossible.
No, you're right. I agree with you 100%. That's why we're trying to get it metered. That's what we're trying to
We
figure
have
out.
had people from rural water and.
We've had everybody and their brother in here trying to figure out what's going on, because there's either a decimal point off somewhere, and I'm not saying the water loss hasn't been 60, 65%, because I'm pretty sure it has been. I'm sure we've been dumping half this water into the ground for who knows how long, because I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying that we have seen
I
some.
mean, it was 2,000.
Yeah.
But
We're seeing some.
this meter has been in there for a long time
For a
also.
long time. And they calibrate it, they do all the things that they're supposed to do, but we're trying to figure out exactly why that's happening too. Now, I don't disagree with the water loss thing. I think you're right, what you're saying. I'm just saying we've definitely made some improvement, because it is.
And I believe that the meter will definitely give us more accurate.
And then we can go back and maybe.
We're still on, our system is still
It
leaks.
still leaks, I mean.
Well, and I guess that's what I was just getting at.
No.
The system is inefficient because of water leaks, because you're paying for to treat water that's eventually just going out into the
No,
ground.
you're right.
And because the accounts payable have gotten so bad that vendors are either not willing to supply, or you're paying a premium for everything you're buying.
No, we're paying a
So-
premium for everything. No, you're right.
Fixing all of this will make things cheaper in the long run. It's
That's
just
the hope.
the pain of how you get
How
there.
you get there, you're right. Because the pie in the sky, I mean, I would not say this out loud pretty much anywhere, but the pie in the sky dream, so I don't want anybody coming to me and saying, lower the rate. The ultimate goal is to completely revamp our system, update everything, where we can bring these back. And we don't have to charge that much, because, we are a poor county. And I said it at the PSC hearing, and I'm not lying, I have a 90-year-old grandmother that's on a fixed income that cannot afford this rate increase. My mom is on a fixed income, she can't afford it. I have aunts and uncles, my whole family lives here. They can't afford it, and we've got to fix this. We've got to figure out a way to get this all fixed and get this brought back so that it's not so expensive to buy water here.
And while we're on this topic, another point on affordability is people validly believe that the water is not safe to drink, therefore they have to pay to buy drinking water. And there's good reason for that.
And I believe you're right too. I think that, and now we will disagree somewhat on this, okay? Because I think it's probably better than what you think it is, or what most of the people think it is. And it's probably not as good as I think it is. It is, the people who think it's bad, I don't think it's as bad as what they think it is. I think reality is somewhere right in the middle. And how we change our perspective on that, like making me understand that it's not as good as I think it is. And I can only go with what my experience has been. I shower in mine, I cook with mine, it's never smelled funny. Gary and I had this conversation.
Yeah, I know.
We talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about, but you get your water from Bristol.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, and that may be the
Not all
case.
of it.
But
Actually,
no,
not all
I mean,
the water comes
the
from
water that we
Bristol.
get right now doesn't come from Prestonsburg, as far as I know. Right now it doesn't. And I still drink it, and, I mean, but that's been my experience.
Well,
Then my
why-
grandmother lives at Beauty,
We
and that's
still
had a
pump
totally
water
different
in that
experience than
tank
I've had.
that comes out first.
But I mean, it's an expense for people, and
Oh, my goodness.
I don't live in this, but I wouldn't, just from what I've seen, I wouldn't say to anyone who's had
Mix in
groundwater
that
coming
tank.
out of the tap, you need to be drinking your water. You know, that's-
Yeah, well, it all depends on where you live now.
And,
Nikki
and
wanted to
actually,
say.
there's no guarantee that Prestonsburg
Yeah,
water is any better than.
I don't know, I can't hear very well, but have you talked about how, or is there a relationship with all the cheater bars? And that's the people who are buying these at hardware stores and bypassing the meter? Are they responsible for a lot of the water loss?
That could be some of the water loss, and since they were actually an item on the shelves of two of the hardware stores, it's obvious that it is a problem, but who
So-
knows?
It is not just here, in our training this week, one of the guys that was getting up teaching the training said that he'd stop in a little store somewhere, and there was a cheater bar, and they were selling them,
I mean, it's gonna be hard to quantify, but I guess the hope is that as these service lines are replaced, as we get the grant money in to replace the service lines, that you'll find.
We
cheater
have been
bars.
finding people that have cheater bars. We've had several people that's been arrested.
We're trying to prosecute them.
Well, that's good.
We also found, this one person that had stolen the meter from somewhere else. And had hooked, we pulled his meter had been pulled, so he wasn't supposed to have anything in there. So he stole another meter and put it in his, and and then he pulled the car over top the meter box.
Yeah.
So we had to get the law to come and have him move the car, so we checked to see where they had a meter or not.
Mickey. What?
You sure I can speak now? All right, so is there a relationship, between the amount of, since the cheater bar doesn't meter, the water isn't, it's metered, but it's not accountable for, is it part of the water loss?
Yes, that would be part.
It would be unaccounted for water.
Okay. Also, I would think that the bypassing the line to fill up swimming pools, which I've heard that happens in a few instances, that a direct line goes to a swimming pool,
Yeah.
would cause it to be a high volume also, right?
It would.
Thank you.
And all that is theft.
Yeah.
And but it's like everything else, it's getting prosecuted. You can get people arrested for several different things, but getting it prosecuted, usually if you can get 2 or 3 cases on water theft prosecuted and people sit in the paper, then that will stop some of it. Because people do not think that stealing water is theft.
But you're stealing from the community.
They are
Everybody
stealing
who's
from the
paying for
community.
water
But
is
it is
stealing.
the same, it's just like shoplifting. If you go into the supermarket and you pick a grape up and you eat it, that's shoplifting.
But you know what? The thing about it is, when they're stealing from all the rest of us because we're paying.
I agree.
It's not, there's no government out there that's paying.
No.
It's us.
We have
Absolutely.
definitely improved on collections. I think if you guys remember right, the last meeting, we billed for like $159,000 roughly, and we collected $228,000. So we are definitely, we are trying, Mindy. I mean, like we pulled 100 meters in one day. Went back out to people who hooked back up. We are constantly going back out to the people that haven't.
And I'm
hooked back
assuming
up.
you give them the option of payment.
Yes, we will. I mean, we're not trying to.
Well,
bust
and
them.
another thing I have
We
wondered.
can only
too-
do what's in our chair.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I've wondered because there's nothing about medical emergencies in the tariff that I've seen. Like if people have a medical, like a lot of tariffs will have a protection where you can't shut off water
Yeah,
if
no,
there's like young children in the house, or if there's a medical emergency.
I'm thinking the PSC covered that in their meeting. They said that you could get like a medical emergency thing, but it would only extend it like 30 days.
Well, that's something I
And
thought
otherwise,
might
come
want to
to
address.
you and work out a deal.
Something,
Yeah.
but our hands are tied, and this is something else that the PSC said. The tariff is law. If it's in there, we have to do it. Now,
If it's not, we can't.
if it's not, we can't. That means, like, if we want to do a lowering the water rate, for instance, we can't just do that.
Right.
It has to be approved by Public Service Commission before we can do that. Even if we wanted to do it, we can't.
Well, I think we would like to talk about the tariff at some point with you all, about
We would
getting
like
some
to
more
talk to you about
protection.
tariff.
Well, our
Some of
tariff
it
is
we're
probably,
right.
it needs a lot of stuff done
It's
to it.
outdated.
Yeah.
Well, it's, no,
Gary had a question, he said.
The day they pulled in 100 feet, there's a man standing in line at the water department. And they took his meter, and they charged him for his septic. That's wrong.
That's what I'm
The
wondering,
man-
is there warning to
The
people?
man was right there.
Yeah, they got a disconnect notice.
Yeah, but they come in to pay the water bill. They were standing in line at the water company. And they went ahead and took the man's meter. That's wrong.
I understand what you're saying.
I mean, you gotta work
But what
with
about,
it.
no, I understand that, but they are, no, I mean, I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, that's what the tariff says, and that's what you're required to do.
Well,
Is that what
I would
they're
like to propose that we plan to sit down and look at the tariff
Let's do
and
that.
have some more protections
Yeah.
in place.
Is that something, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you.
Right, I understand.
I mean, I don't disagree with you.
$15 is just, is probably better for the customer than it is for the water company.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they live on fixed incomes, poor people, they got kids, the kids gotta eat.
well, okay, here's something else about it. You're supposed to have, I don't know if they have it now or not, the customer bill of rights. Okay, like if that case there that you were talking about, the guy had a water bill and it was late, and they come to our, they come and what, disconnected it while he was in line to do that. While he was in line to pay the
The
bill.
employee of the water company was taking the meter
Yeah,
because, the guy called, his wife was in line.
yeah.
They took the meter, and she told him, she said, he told him, said, she is up there paying the water bill right now. They took the meter. Okay, they charged $15 to take the meter, they charged $15 to take the meter. That's
I think it's,
30 bucks.
I think it's more than that.
That's actually.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than that.
I think it's $40. I think it might be a total of $80.
But the people that pull.
Okay, but here's the thing about it.
That's what they do.
If everybody is treated the same, let's say that I'm 10 or 15 days past, I get my notice, I don't pay, I don't let you know anything, you come to cut my water off, that's what you're supposed to do by tariff. But let's say that somebody hasn't paid a bill in a year, and they're still getting service. I don't know if that happens, I suspect it is.
It's not supposed to. It's,
Huh? I mean, to
I paid about 4 different water bills.
Okay.
I paid for the community center, for Marion Hill Lodge, for my house, for Warfield Lodge, so sometimes, you know, I don't pay any attention to anything.
Yeah.
So I went in and I paid 4 different bills. And I didn't really read which bills that I had paid. My daughter also pays one. And I didn't know she laid her bill on my table, house, and I picked it up and I paid her. So I paid 4 bills. Well, the next month I get this notice in the mail, it's gonna pull my meter.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'd issued, I told them, you know, I wanted it issued, but I also wanted it done, if you do it for one, do it for all.
You gotta do it for all, so you
So
have.
then I get the letter in the mail that says they're gonna pull my meter. So, and I thought, so I go over and I said, girls, what are you all doing? And they said, oh, we're so sorry. And I said, no, you've done exactly what I wanted you to do.
Yeah, but how,
If they're gonna pull mine,
yeah,
you
but
know,
now how many are,
And I'm a commissioner,
are
so-
past 30 days, past 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days? I
Right
mean,
now,
if
that
you-
tariff shows.
It shouldn't, everybody should be pulled at the same time,
No,
unless
at
you've
the
got
same
like a
time.
medical
You don't think it
reason.
is?
The idea that we have with the tech, I'm sorry.
I would like to know something then. If you all say that the water is safe and clean to drink, I've got a 10-month-old granddaughter. Her poor bottom and everything is broken out real bad over the water. And her mother is my daughter, and you were to see her face, water situation. And her boyfriend just had surgery, and he's got a big hole big in his back because of the water. And if you won't say the water, she doesn't feed Mary, that's my granddaughter, the city water. She feeds it with the bottled water. But she is all broke out. They had to, I told them to boil bottled water and see what happened. And she still caught it.
Debbie, does the doctor say what's causing it?
She just got it. Jane, that's my daughter, called me last night and told me Mary was all broke out where she wears her diapers and a bathroom. And I've seen it myself. I thought it was just heat, the diapers, but it's not. Jane told me that it's blisters on it too.
I don't know how to answer your question, I wish I did. I wish I knew.
I will say that Josie was allergic to paper diapers, and we had to go to cloth. To say,
Well,
I don't know.
Mary was allergic to huggies, gloves, pamper, but now they've changed the diaper, you know. She don't use those diapers anymore. And also that they put Vaseline, big jar of Vaseline on her because she's allergic to the diaper rash medicine. So, you know, she's blistered and everything. Matter of fact, I just changed her diaper. That was what I had. But they say the water's safe and everything for us kids.
I wish I could never give you an answer.
I think it's the high chlorine.
It could be, I mean, it could be, I really don't know the answer. I really don't. I'm sorry, that's what's causing it. We're doing everything we can, you know, to try to help fix this.
I know some of the doctors have told people that they think the water causes something. But it might be chlorine, it might be where it's going through before it gets to their
When it
house.
gets there, I mean, it could be a number of things, and I don't know how to answer that question.
It could be the type of soap.
I know we have to change soap for Addison, because she would break out.
Oh, yeah. But one of the things I wanted to ask you all, and I think Mary has seen this too, is where you all have listed past due accounts. And you've listed them in, by zip code, not by name.
Like it's
Like,
report
like,
that's
yeah,
out
like
there.
41231, that's where I live, Loveland. And they would give, just by zip code, no name or anything, but they would give an amount. 41224, they would give an amount for all the things. And you could understand if they're past due bills, and that's what these were past due bills. You know, if it's 130 some, you know, some of them were 80 something, you know, you would think, okay, that's a month or something, that's what the month had maybe a leak, and they didn't get fixed, but you had some there that was quite large. I'm talking about over $1,000. And you know that that's had to be for long term. So what do they do about things like that? I mean, it's one thing if you cut, say, the case with Gary Hunt, where the guy said, look, I've seen my wife up there, she's paid it, now I know we're cutting you off. Then to let somebody run, you know, $1,000 water bill up and not cut them off.
I've asked that same question a bunch of times, because I get that report. When we first took our positions on the board,
Then you have to look at it and say,
I went and got the report, and I was like, what? Because that's when we determined, or when I found out that we had $600,000 in uncollected bills. That's insanity. How do you run a business and not collect your money?
yeah.
So, as far as, that's a great question.
Are they still out there?
No, that's why you're seeing us billing for $159,000 and we're collecting 228.
Okay, well, that's good.
That's where you're seeing the difference, because now we have been ultra aggressive about collecting our bills. And if we can get the tariff through any way that we want it, our bills will come due on the first day of the month. You will have to the 15 days basically to pay your bill. Then if you haven't paid your bill, you get disconnect notice. We have to have 5 days, and then whatever that day ends up being, the 20th, 21st, that's the day we pull meters every single month. And that's how every county around us does it, every single one of them. And they don't, because when I started calling around, asking, like I was going to these other water districts and saying, all right, how do you want to do it? And I said, well, do you have a collection agency? They all laughed at me. Because you pay your bill or you get your meter pulled. It's just that simple. And to your question, standing in the line, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know about that. It doesn't make sense to me that would be that way.
Well, it's true.
I know it's true. I actually know that that's true, but I don't know why that would be done that way, and that's something that we're trying to look at too.
Well, if you have,
Well, unless if they've already had the work order pulled,
Yeah, and they're already out there.
and it hasn't been,
And
and
it's
they haven't been notified not to.
Yeah, I don't know.
The work,
Like I said, that-
What I'm saying is, you want to work with the people. If they're standing there in line to pay their bill, you're charging them $80.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We're paying more for water than anybody around here, and it ain't 50 grand.
if you have the customer bill of rights,
If-
it's posted,
If you're gonna
and
make,
they're real
I mean,
plain,
you
that
take
would
from
cover
us,
the thing like you're
money
talking
for the
about.
water, why can't you work with the people? That's what I'm saying.
Had immediately.
You can't even talk to the main man, because I went in there the other day, my daughter called me, she said, Dad, I need your help. And I went in there and talked to Greg. Girls told me, said he's got 2 million back there, and they're working on the computer, and I don't know how long it's gonna be. I said, well, I can stay here all day. And Jane has been to the doctor for her face, and Dr. Lafferty and Steve has told her that it's this water, and they have to give her medicine for it, and everything. And she don't understand what's going on, and I'm having to help her. And when you can't talk to the head man, let the head man tell you what it's all about, who you want to go to. That's what I can't understand. If you need to talk to you or Greg or whoever, we are to be able to go in there and sit down and let them explain what's going on.
well, you probably would have to need to make an appointment in order to be able to talk to
Yeah,
him.
maybe call over.
Because, I mean, if he is in the meeting,
Well, I was in the town
Well, sure, yeah,
meetings.
sure. Can I ask you a question? What's more important, a customer versus you?
Well, it seems to me, I mean, we've come so far, just having 2 of the board members here at this meeting is huge. I mean, we've come a long way in the last year, and from the board standpoint, I mean, you guys, thank you so much for being here, but it sounds like from the office standpoint that we still have some work to do. And I would hope that the board can kind of convey to the office that they need to do some more work on customer satisfaction, on the sort of making sure that people are heard. Because I've heard a lot about people who've been turned away or treated rudely, or and that just is going to breed further distrust. So I think.
Just like when we was in the water tank, okay? I called the water plant, I was like, hey, I need 275 gallons of water, what are you charging us for? We don't sell it that way. Yes, they do. The school hauls it up there and lays more for the brick and water, right or wrong. They couldn't sell it to me, but they came in. I called the judge's office, and Mike Crum said, well, yeah, he said, I'll get hold of the guys, so we'll get you some water. No, when I hung up the phone, the guy's called. He said, son, get the water phone. Okay. I offered to pay the water company for 275 gallons of water, but yeah, the fire department can give it to me for free. I mean,
Sounds like you got a good deal.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Is that treating people equal?
That cost you a little
No,
bit.
it is
Now,
not.
Jimmy, is that treating people equal?
Well, I don't know, I mean, as far as, so you called the water department, it didn't go up there.
I'm a paying customer. I live here 365 days a year. I pay my bill. You can go look at the book. But, does the school board pay theirs?
Larry?
We've not got a bill yet, but I guarantee you we will pay our bills.
Well, I'm just saying, has that contractor up there paid the bill for the water they come to the water company and get?
They were supposed to be going, they were going to.
We pay it.
The board
Yeah,
pays.
we pay for the
They
water.
go to a metered, hydrant right down there by KFC,
Yeah.
or they'll go to the,
They said they want the water plant.
yeah.
The guy up there that's running the show told me they went to the water plant, because I went up there and tried to buy water off him. Because nobody would tell me nothing. But yet the fire department can get it.
That's actually, I don't know, do we sell water from the plant like that? I actually don't know
You
that.
got a fire hydrant
I
up
don't
there in
think-
front of it with a
I don't
hose
think
up
the
to it
plant
and meter
has
on it for the
a
concrete
meter
company.
or
That's good.
I don't know that first offhand knowledge.
Does the fire department pay
KFC, I
for water?
thought was the owner. I thought
KFC
there's only
was
We
one
pay them enough in fees.
where they sell it out of.
Is the fire department
Okay.
supposed to account for all the water?
They
Yes.
are, and that's something we're working with them right now.
We're working on
They don't have
They
to pay for it, but they have to.
They have to account for
Right.
it, and that's something.
They don't have to pay for it at the moment, but if they get to where
Okay.
they, if
Because
they
that's
want.
what the
Why
committee's
do we
for.
have to pay for it?
Because they're our
Well,
fire
the idea is
department.
that, you know, it's a public service.
I'm not talking about the
It's a
fire department. I'm talking about the contractors up there in the school.
What do you mean, why don't they have to pay? They do.
We pay for
He said they
it.
ain't got a bill yet.
The schools pay them.
Yeah, we pay for it. We pay for the water.
They add it to the contract.
Yeah.
But they get the water.
And I think we're gonna talk a little more about that
Not
after
water.
Elizabeth talks. One more thing about the PSC, I just wanted to say, there is also the investigation that's still going on. We're supposed to be having hearings every 90 days. We had the last one on February 28th. They haven't scheduled a new one. We just sent a data request. I don't know if you all are aware of that.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, so we just sent a data request
I think
in.
Brian sent you back.
Maybe, I didn't get
saw
it today.
I
Okay.
saw it, yeah.
It might have come in my office. I wasn't in the office today. So anyway, we're trying to get more data on that. We don't know when there's going to be another hearing, but that is still ongoing, and that's the bigger investigation. Yes, George.
Is any news about that water line being laid up to the new school yet?
Well, we're gonna, so that's
talk about that
That's
after-
getting added to the agenda.
After
So we're gonna
Elizabeth.
talk, so next we have Elizabeth Schuster. She's here from she's the Energy Policy Manager of Food and Water Watch. She's here, came all the way in from DC to talk to us about Food and Water Watch's work and their interest in Martin County and some things that she thinks that we might be able to work together on.
Yeah, so thanks for having us. Just to give you some context as how Food and Water Watch got involved, we were actually contacted by a charity here called RAMP because they couldn't deliver lunches to the schools because the schools were closed due to some water issues. We are a nonprofit. We are headquartered in DC, but we have offices all over the United States in 15 different states. And we have something called the Public Water for All campaign. And we have a researcher, Mary Grant, who unfortunately couldn't be here. She's now the director of that program. Who's been working with a lot of people who are in this room on getting information to them. And we produced an issue brief on the situation that's going here, which I brought some copies if you guys want to take a look at it.
She brought plenty, so.
I brought plenty, but I can get you more. So, a little bit more context about, why we got involved is one of the things that Food and Water Watch does is we focus on organizing, grassroots organizing. And our federal program, which is what I work on, like the federal lobbying stuff, is actually like a small part of what we do. And when we were contacted, we were asked specifically to elevate this issue as a national issue. And since that time, it has gotten coverage by the LA Times did an article, a few others have done some articles. We have Kate Levy here, who's a documentarian who worked in Detroit with the Detroit water shutoffs and Flint with the Flint water crisis. And I'm here today to sort of put this in context for you so that you know that this is not just a local issue, this affordability issue and this the dangerous water and everything like that. That is actually a national issue that people all over the United States are dealing with. And so, you know, we work a lot. We believe we work under the umbrella that water is is a human right. There's a human right to water, and the UN has agreed with us on that. And we just have helped so many communities around the United States fight corporate takeovers of their water system, which is happening a lot, privatization of these systems, which doesn't work to the community's benefits. And we've been successful in those fights. And just to give you some idea of why we're in this situation in America, you know, federal funding for water and sewer systems has fallen 74% since the funding was at its peak in 1977. So that's a long time, right? At the same time, you know, our water pipes are so old and need so much maintenance, and treatment plants need updates, you know, and that hasn't been happening because the federal funding is becoming so low. Just last month, EPA released a new survey that found our drinking water systems need nearly $500 billion over the next 20 years to provide safe water. That's just the drinking water systems. So if you add in the wastewater and stormwater systems, America's water systems are going to need more than $35 billion each year to keep our water safe and clean. And what's happening, as we've heard today in this community meeting, and you guys are well aware, is the burden is falling on local governments, right? And it's falling on the ratepayers to manage the increases in their water bills, because there's no other way to get the money necessary to fund the maintenance and operation of these systems. And so what's happening now is America is facing an affordability crisis, a water affordability crisis. And a study from last year found that 12% of the population is struggling to pay their water bills. So that's like all over the United States, 12% are struggling. And so within the next 5 years, because of increasing water rates, we estimate that 1 in 3 families across the country are going to be unable to afford their water bills. 1 in 3 families. And according to a study, because we did some more specifics that you guys are probably more interested in, Kentucky is ranked 4th in the nation for having the most areas at a high risk of unaffordable water services. So, you know, this is not just what you guys are experiencing, it's actually a national problem. And what complicates things a lot more, which you guys probably know, is a lot of the stories in the newspapers are about Flint and Detroit and Baltimore, which we're working on affordability problems there. These are big cities, right? These are urban areas. And when you look at like rural areas, small community water systems are more likely to violate like federal water quality standards. They're associated with more outbreaks of waterborne disease. They're more difficult because you're running pipes through like mountainous areas. And a recent study found that in 2015, nearly 21 million Americans, about 6%, were getting water from systems that violated health standards. So low-income rural areas have the highest rate of water quality violations. And this is like all, you know, the funding to maintain and operate these systems. It's a huge part of it. And it takes a lot of money to maintain water systems in rural communities. So we looked, you know, this brief goes into more detail about Martin County specific, but I'll pull out a few things that we sort of wanted to pull out for you guys about your system itself. So when we say affordability, we're looking at the international, it's like an international metric that was put out by the UN. That is your total water bill. And it includes both drinking and sewer bills. And it should not exceed 3% of your household income. So you just kind of think about that. And with the latest interim rate increase, which I guess is just temporary until they come up with like a permanent rate increase, a household using 60,000 gallons a year is going to pay $657 for water alone. With the interim increase, we looked at Martin County, folks who live on less than $15,000 a year, and the rates alone are unaffordable for 27% of those households. If the water district gets the full rate increase that they're proposing, a household using 60,000 gallons a year would pay $836 a year for water alone, and that's going to be unaffordable for 45% of the households who live on less than $25,000 a year.
So you're saying that with this interim rate increase based on that standard?
Yeah.
That it is considered unaffordable for 27%?
Who currently live on less than $15,000.
Do you know what percentage that is?
But I can find out for you.
They usually 40% of our community is considered below poverty.
Yeah, I think it's something like that, yeah. That might actually be in this issue brief. I just pulled out some.
You may have gotten it.
Yeah, you might have gotten it from Patrick, right? Yeah, so that's just the people in the county who live on less than $15,000 a year. So, you know, I give you those facts to sort of put it out there so you can see kind of where you are with regards to this national affordability problem. And we're actually lucky enough to have someone from Senator Rand Paul's office here. Because what I want to do now is sort of talk about connecting you guys, if we can, you know, helping you to connect if you're interested in to your representatives, you know, to your federal representatives, because as you've heard, and it's great that you guys are doing so much on the water board and also, you know, within the water district itself to help fix these problems. I mean, I think that's really great that there's a dialogue. These problems are not going to go away if it's just shouldered on the burden of ratepayers and local government, right? It's just not, I don't think it's a sustainable long-term solution. And we've seen that other places. So we really have to work on getting this more robust, stable federal funding. And there are things that your members, your representatives can do to help you if they hear from you. And they should be hearing from you. And I'm here today, I came all the way from DC, yay, to see you guys because I want you to put a face to our organization and also know that, you know, if you guys want to connect with us in any way to set up local district meetings, Hal Rogers represents you all. He is chairman of the Appropriations Committee. No, he's not anymore? Oh.
He has been for what time?
Well, he was chairman. They still call him Chairman Hal Rogers. So no, he hasn't, but he's got connections and he's, you know, a powerful member of Congress, I think you would agree.
Absolutely.
Powerful member of Congress. You have a powerful delegation. Rand Paul, junior senator from Kentucky. You've got McConnell. He's still the leader, right, as of today? Okay. Just checking.
That's a minute by minute thing
Yeah,
for
things just
everybody.
change all the time. So, you know, you're talking about a very powerful delegation. And I will tell you that I did contact, you know, Rand Paul's got someone here. I did contact Representative Rogers' office, and they have secured some funding for you already. But from what I understand from talking to Mary, it's a small amount compared to what you really need, which makes sense. And there are other things, and also Representative Yarmouth, who represents Louisville. He just joined onto a bill that we have in Congress that would actually create a trust fund for water and would create a stable funding for like the state revolving funds, and it would actually has a specific partner we worked with, some rural water organizations. It has a part that would fund like septic rural areas and provide grants for them. So just sort of, he joined on that bill because I was in their office talking about what's going on here, and you know, they were interested in as much as they can without it being their district, bringing a voice, a national voice to this issue. So
What's the name of that bill?
it's called the Water Act,
Water Act.
and I can send you guys information. And I say that because, you know, that is, I think it is important that you guys connect with your local officials. And I know it's frustrating. There's a lot of mistrust on both sides, right? Congress seems very dysfunctional right now. But they are powerful members and they can do stuff to help you. So they can fight for more funding. They can, you know, hopefully you saw in the news with the Flint water crisis. They were holding hearings up on the Hill, you know, about what happened there. You know, the majority can do that. They can call, you know, they can call hearings. They can start an investigation, a national investigation into what happened. It seems like there's been a lot of mismanagement, a lot of stuff going on for a long time. That they can start looking into. So, I mean, I just kind of want to put that out there. They can also fund stuff like the enhanced technical assistance that you guys have been getting from the Kentucky Rural Water. The Farm Bill's coming up. That's kind of where that funding plugs into, and the Senate hasn't come out with their version yet, as far as I know, unless that changed today too. And the House has, so it includes some funding. But that's stuff that, like, you know, your senators can fight for on the Senate side, you know, to keep those organizations that have been helping you so much funded, and create more funding for that. So I just kind of wanted to be here to answer questions if you have them about connecting with your offices. I will say that unless the calendar changed as well, they are due to be back in district, so out of DC, back home, the last week of April and the last week of May, which is like Memorial Day week. So if you guys are interested in connecting with them in any way, we can put you in touch. We did have, in support, we did do an action to our Kentucky members. So we're a member-funded organization. We don't take money from corporations or the government. And our membership base in Kentucky did send letters and emails and made calls maybe to the you know, on this rate increase, to oppose it actually, for affordability reasons. So sorry guys, but you know,
Just one county
we are
too.
able to do
You know,
that.
love it. That's why I live here.
Yeah, well, and I want to say, I mean, I think having Elizabeth here, having Bob Bocock come, I mean, we are making noise. The community here is making noise, and we're getting
wouldn't.
national attention, and that's
Not as
huge.
much money as what we had without.
And so, you know, what Food and Water Watch may be able to help with, in addition to the work they've already done, is getting us connected more to our congressional delegation, so that we can try to get, I mean, I think the Project Rejuvenate is like 13.5 million, and we've gotten, what, 4.6 so far? So, I mean, there's a big lags there of just basic needs, and these aren't like pie in the sky rebuild the system. This is just like fix the system so it functions, kind of capital improvements that need to be done. And, you know, that kind of money is not going to come from rates. That kind of money is going to have to come from grant funding. So I think that what Elizabeth is offering, I mean, I think we really do need to start elevating this and start making as much noise with the folks in DC as possible to shake loose some money, you know, from whatever kind of grant funding is possible. So, and if you guys are looking at things, I know we posted, I think, on Facebook about some EPA grants that were coming up. I mean, you know, you just see
I
things
sent
every now
that
and
to
then.
you.
A lot of the funding cycles are in the summer, right? So this summer would be a really good time, but you need to have a grant writer in place so that once you recognize what your funding sources might be, somebody's ready to write that grant.
And I think you all have had help from
Big Sandy.
DLG or Big
Yeah.
Sandy.
We have everybody like.
Now, Big Sandy's great.
Yeah,
We're
I think
working
Big
with
Sandy
pretty
and.
closely.
They've got good grant writers.
But if we have specific grants that we're looking at, I think that would be important when we're going to talk to the delegation, you know, to have folks come in and sort of plead our case and talk about how important it is, and maybe give some testimonials about, you know, how bad the water is and how it's affecting people and how important it is, and then have that specific ask of, you know, we're looking at these grants, we need some help with these specific
And how do
things.
we
I think
find
that's
out,
the way
like,
we would.
if you know something's coming up, you know, like you said, you know there's a grant coming up, and you can connect to us too, and say, hey, did you know this one's available?
I think that we are going to try to work together with our DC office and Elizabeth, and we're going to identify hopefully some funding.
Okay.
And at that point, then if you decide to apply for that funding, then Senator Paul will do a support letter to the funding source and say, they really need this. I'm in support of this funding. I want them to have this funding. So, so we're going to work on that in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
We're applying for everything.
Yeah, I mean, the other group to really ask, I mean, I know you're working with Kentucky Rural Water, those groups, like we work a little bit more with RCAP, Rural Community Assistance Partnership, but similar. Those groups help people apply for those grants too, my understanding is, so you should definitely talk to them too, and I will actually reach out to my contact at RCAP to see, I'm still waiting for them to email me back, but, to see what's out there and what could be helpful.
I come to all your meetings.
Please,
Seriously, yeah,
please, no, we're,
this is good.
You're a concerned citizen too.
I was telling her, I learn every day. We learn something new. We stay in contact every day, do we
We
not?
had talked with a Kim Paget, I believe, from Rural, and she,
Kim Paget?
I think,
Yes.
She's great.
and she told us that she, in the next couple of weeks, was wanted to come over and talk with us. She thought she might be able to help us in some areas. Don't know
She's a
yet.
great source.
Don't
for
know what that
knowing
is
funding.
yet, but we did talk with her yesterday, I believe.
Yeah. Just for that.
She knows
I
what-
can't understand why we can't get any, or why there's been a limited supply of AML money. I mean, we live right here in abandoned
In
mine
abandoned
land.
mine country, yes.
Yeah, right here, and there's,
you know what Secretary
there's
Snavely told me.
bukus of money
Yes.
there.
I'm just telling you, say that
Yeah.
right out loud.
What
Huh?
did Charles tell you?
And I don't know if he was being serious, but he said, well, the thing with Martin County is most of that mining happened after the law. It's post-law mining.
no.
Which maybe you look at the coal production, and yes, most of the coal production in Martin County was post-law, because Martin County there's a spike. It's like 1977 to 1985, it's like peaks out and then it drops off. But that doesn't mean there wasn't mining here before
Yeah,
1977.
yeah, there's money.
There's mining here.
But if they cannot determine that the problem came from pre-law mining, and it looks like it may have even possibly come from post-law mining, you're not
There's some
eligible.
too, it has
Well,
to be
he-
like for specific economic development too, like I know. they-
Yeah.
AML, that's what
Yeah, you should be able to determine that there have been people here that at one time had wells. A lot of folks had wells that now can't, the mining industry has sunk the wells.
And
Or
that's
they've
one of the things
injected,
I
or
would
they've
like for
injected
us.
slurry into aquifers to where you couldn't use it even if you could get to it.
We've had people at our meetings who have told us about losing their wells within a
Yeah,
Which is,
Okay.
that's part of the problem is, that's the reason the system got expanded out to serve the whole county is because,
Yeah.
anecdotally, that's what we know, is because people were losing their wells.
yeah, and there's so much money in there that they're using it for other things now, like retraining miners and stuff like that, and that's good, I have no problem with that. Okay, but the money was intended to correct the problems caused by mining. There was a man at on Pigeon Ridge at Denny Howe. There was an old mine broke through into his yard, sunk half of his yard, and slid off the hillside. And he contacted people in the state. There's nothing can be done. We did a story on it, and they determined that it was due to, a mine that was abandoned here years ago that had filled up with water and finally ruptured and just destroyed its property. Well, we should be able to argue the same thing with our water system. That
Well, I'll put in a plug here. I don't think it's dead. You all need to be calling people to support the Reclaim Act. It didn't get through this time, but that would free up a lot more AML money for counties in central Appalachia. Basically, the whole idea of the Reclaim Act is there are literally billions of dollars of AML money that are sitting in a pot in DC, held up by various strings. And Central Appalachia, because of our sudden decline in coal industry, needs that money desperately. And so the Reclaim Act would free up a lot of that money to come into Central Appalachia in the next few years. It didn't make it through this time. It was supposed to, we hoped it was going to be part of the omnibus spending, or omnibus bill. It didn't make it through the budget this time, but we're still pushing it. So if you all hear anything about the Reclaim Act, please push, push, push. That would give a lot more AML money to Kentucky to spend in Martin County as well as other places. Okay.
Well, now, we can't disturb the piles of money for corporate welfare now. We're not asking for that, are we, Mr. Ball?
What's that?
They gotta have some money up there in DC for the corporate welfare.
No. That money is for things like this. That's what
I
it-
know, sir.
I know that's what
being
it's-
facetious.
Yeah, I know, that's what it's intended for. It's not intended for anything else. I mean, and that's what you have to do. And Denny Howe, when Denny Howe contacted, they told me the state level, they couldn't do anything. But,
Well, seeing how the Central Appalachian, since they were brought up, has the highest cancer death rate of any area per capita in the United States of America, so says information from the Center for Disease Control, I think that we are owed.
yeah, we are owed.
The Central Appalachians powered this country through 2 world wars, through the Industrial Revolution. We ain't asking for nothing that we don't deserve.
That's right.
We deserve clean, fresh, drinkable water.
Now, this is something too, we wanted to add something on that is definitely something that should concern all of our citizens. It's a case of the same old thing that got us here. We've got a case on it right now. We're talking about what happened back when they wasted our money on courthouses we didn't need. Well, let's now talk about something that we can stop before it happens. Because we've got something going on with our new school. Mr. James came, but evidently he had to leave early. But this new school is probably going to be delayed because of a misuse of our funds.
Costs money to.
Now that's what's happening here.
Are you serious?
What's happened is we were supposed to have the water system go into the new school by December, according to the plans. The Army Corps of Engineers wrote a plan for how the water would go. That plan would take it the fastest route to get it over to the school from the water plant. Now, when that was developed, there was a second plan, and the Army Corps of Engineers said, no, you cannot have that second plan. And this is what they said. They said this water main going along 40 is already over capacity, and connecting a new main and a pump station to this water main would increase already existing capacity problems in the area. Therefore, this alternative is not technically feasible.
Yeah.
Now, that's a bunch of engineers who said that, not me. So, they said no, but they said this other way is your way to go. Now, the problem is an easement.
Yeah.
There was an easement promised to the people who live there, and that easement was for $35,000. Now, that was promised by one person. Nothing was written up. There is no contract. That was a promise by one person who doesn't work at the water plant anymore. And now there is a problem because the state says that doesn't assess for $35,000. It would be an illegal contract even if it's written on paper, but it's not written on paper.
$2,500 would be.
It's $5,000 to $6,000 is what it's supposed to be assessed for. The state will not allow our school system to take it, pay $35,000. It's illegal. So the school system can't go that way. So now the new plan is going to cost the county because the school can't pay for it. It's gonna cost the county $500,000 more to take it around the long way, the way the Army Corps of Engineers said, no, we're not gonna do that. And then, this also requires a bigger tank, which will require more money from our county. Now, what you're gonna hear is you're gonna hear people say, and including some of the officials, that there's a new plan. The new plan is better.
No.
Because there are some developers who want to build things up there, maybe gas stations, McDonald's, whatever. They want to put it up there, and they will now have more water capacity because we have paid $500,000 more water. That's corporate welfare. That is corporate welfare. So, this is the thing. This is the thing, is that there is a possibility for that easement. That there is such a thing as eminent domain. They could say, our county needs this. This is what it's worth. But according to people in the courthouse, it's an election year. And they don't want to do eminent domain. I suppose that would cost a few votes. But I want the whole county to know that you vote too. So now let's just see. Call your magistrate and tell your magistrate that you don't think you can afford $500,000 for a long way around that the Army Corps of Engineers recommended against.
Yeah.
You can't afford the bigger tank. And not only that, but Greg Scott and John Mills both said at the last board meeting that they also were worried about the Martin County Water District's ability to do this. So right now, call those people who are running for office and you tell them, I don't have the extra $500,000. I don't know where it's supposed to come from. Do you?
We
Yes.
take draw blood out of the turf.
Right.
After you submit the Corps of Engineers report, and after our meeting, here we go, because hydraulically, we just don't think it'll work.
No.
So I'm trying to talk to Larry too. We're opposed to it. So I've talked to Larry, talking to Bogdan the other night. I'm trying to get everybody in the room to sit down and figure
And
this
it needs
out.
to be fast.
Because we have enough problems, okay? So my standard answer has been talking to this court, but ultimately it's our problem.
And that's exactly right, because it's
Yeah.
going to be your problem.
So we're going to get involved.
The frustrations of it is that when someone else is over putting in the system and the water board, we as the water board don't really have a say in it, and they go in and put it in this system. The system's not going to work.
It will dampen the water. We won't be able to water.
Just like the Corps said, basically.
It'll suck the
It
water
will
out.
not work like what they say that it will.
It has to go.
It will cost more money by doing it than it would to do the other way.
We're going to try to get everybody in the room.
And this, you need to be fast about this, because the school system is paying for that
I
water.
know.
Yeah.
So, look, I have been hesitant to get involved, but we are now. And Horn and I have been talking pretty much daily about what, because he understands the engineering part more so than I do.
Greg has sent out
And
a
so does
letter.
John Paul, and Greg has sent a letter to them saying we don't think this will work.
It doesn't do you no good to call your magistrate or call Mitch.
I'm telling you something, it's an election year.
I know,
Not if that costs more.
but
So-
the rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer.
Tell them, it's an election year.
So we are with you.
Vote for a magistrate that will listen
We
to
are
us.
with you because
Well, Victor
what
Slaughter
has
won't
happened
do
1,000
nothing.
times in this county.
He's in cahoots with Kelly
We
Callahan.
know it's not right, and we go ahead and do it anyway, and it don't work.
And we all remain quiet about it.
And
Ain't
that
nobody
we
running
can't do.
against him,
That's
as I know
the
of.
frustration.
And here's the thing about
I'm
it, if we
concerned.
go the other way, it actually helps us pressurize the rest of the system, and we will have better water pressure up.
Yeah.
If we go the way that.
If we go the way it
If you
originally.
go the way that the Army Corps of Engineers, now I was told by the Assistant Commonwealth Attorney that this thing is going to be fixed that they don't have an appraisal yet on it,
That's
but,
right, and that's what they're
but-
waiting on. And
Yeah.
listen, they're gonna have to stop building if they don't do something.
yeah. But that, I was assured that, you know, that it's going to be resolved, and it may, bother some people, but it benefits everybody. Eminent domain is what they can do. They can
Look, we've been
condemn it
told,
and take it.
as a board member for Martin County, and you've been a board member
Yeah.
for Martin County, we've been told, it's supposed to be done by December.
By December.
And it was all done. Now, we're gonna be paying for more water
You're right.
using contingency funds, I guess.
Contingency money that we worked hard to make sure.
And you
we-
gotta have it. You gotta have that contingency because other things come up. And in the meantime, every kid in this school, every kid in this county that is high school age is gonna be cheated out of that brand new school for another year.
I agree with you, because that's one of the
And
things
that's the thing, nobody wants to get involved.
We want to
I don't
make-
care, you know what, just step forward, you don't have to be on the water board.
Oh, I know that.
You don't have to be the superintendent, just step forward and say, no, you
Well,
gotta stop it.
I was at the court
I tell
meeting
you-
and asked Kelly about this thing, and Kelly said, this easement goes for $2 or something like that, a square foot with the gas company. And I'm sitting there thinking, what in the world are you talking about? Because that's going to get a lot of money. From what I can understand, I've been told the value of the property that they need, $2,500 would be a lot of money for that.
Well, I don't know, we've heard.
Fair
well,
market value.
Okay, it may be, I have no idea.
It's $35,000. And somebody apparently told the property owner that they can get $35,000. Somebody didn't have the authority to do
Somebody
that.
told them that didn't have the authority to tell them
Yeah.
evidently. But this has been a ping pong game,
Yeah.
back and forth, that the board members and that the superintendent has tried to listen to the judge, will lay it off on somebody else will lay it off on the judge. It's just back and forth.
And down at the PSC hearing, if you remember, Kelly Callahan was asked by Mike Schmidt about eminent domain. And Kelly said, well, that wasn't needed. Well, apparently it
Kelly
is.
rudely said it was none of their business, but
Huh?
it is Kelly rudely told PSC
Yeah.
that it was none of their business, but it is their business because it's gonna affect what the water company can do. They
Yeah.
can't.
I mean, it's, like I said,
Kelly don't want to do that.
Well, when's the next fiscal court meeting?
Thursday,
This Thursday?
next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
What time?
Everybody needs to come to the next fiscal court meeting. I'm sorry, but I can't afford $500,000 more dollars.
Well, to that,
Idea.
and to that
I just
too,
hate to spend it. We got it, but I just hate to spend it.
well, out of that $2 million that we had put back for contingency money, well, is that what we had?
I
based
don't
on-
exactly know. I
rent?
won't quote it unless you
This
know
is
the
county
exact.
Okay, well, it's around
It's
2
county
million.
money.
Okay, I talked to Larry, and they had to put propane heaters up there in the school during the summer months, or during the winter months, and if they do any construction this summer and it's hot and they've got everything in there, they're gonna have to bring portable air conditioners.
Sounds like this is something to take up at the fiscal court meeting next week.
Huh?
And I'm just gonna say, it looks like our meeting's adjourned. I want to thank everyone for coming. This has been great.
Mary, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so that,
Oh, no, I think,
I'm aggravated about the school because that was.